So in this video we are going over construction lines and a few constraints. So we're going to go things called construction lines, parallel, perpendicular, and most importantly probably tangent is going to be the other constraint that we use. So we'll start a part and a 2D sketch. Alright, and let's start with a circle in the middle. So we'll do a center point circle. Start it, make sure it's locked to the origin here. See the green dot? Boom. And we'll click and make it. And let's dimension that at 2 inches. There we go. And back out a little bit, zoom out a little bit so you can have some space around it. Alright. Now we're also going to put in 2 construction lines. These are lines that actually aren't going to be part of our object, but we need them in order to reference things, to describe where things are. So we're going to make 2 horizontal lines. But before we make the lines, we're going to click this thing up here. If you hover over it, it'll say construction. So it makes it dotted on the screen, and it's you can still dimension it and do everything else you can, but when you go to make the object, which we'll do later on in the course, when you go to make it a 3-dimensional object, they don't matter. So we're going to click construction, so that should be highlighted, and then line, and we're going to put a line up here somewhere. Doesn't really matter where right now. I'm going to just go across. Actually, let's put it over here. Go vertically, actually. So I'm going to do 2 vertical lines. So we're going to put a line here, and let's put one. So if I double click at the end, I think, well, let's just click on line again. If I click on line again, then I can do another one that runs right down this y-axis. There we go. And hit escape to get out of that. And if I want to make sure that it's connected, I can always try a coincident constraint and say I want this line coincident with the center of that circle. Now I know that this line and the center of that circle are connected to each other and can't move. While we're at it, let's dimension. I click dimension. No, here we go. I'm going to dimension the distance between these lines from here to here to be, let's say 4 inches. There we go. All right, so there's our 2 construction lines. Now we're going to get out of the construction mode here. Now I'm going to click it on my computer. When I click things, they don't always go away. Okay, that seems to be all right now. All right, we're going to make some actual lines. So we're going to take 2 lines, and right now, let's say, it just doesn't really matter. So we'll just make them any which way. One on, say, the left kind of side of the circle, and one on the right side, sort of. Now, here's the deal. I'm going to show you how to use the parallel constraint. If you wanted, as you did this, you notice if I get it just right, the parallel symbol shows up just to the right of where I'm moving. So if I go to the left here a little bit, boom, there it is. I'm going to show you how to use the constraint. So you can get the computer to do it automatically, but sometimes you want to do it on your own just to make sure you get everything right. So we're just going to put it any old place out here. Boom. So we have 2 lines. We're going to get out of line by hitting escape. All right. So let's make those 2 lines parallel. That would be this constraint right here. All right, parallel constraint. So actually, before we do that, I lied. Let's set the angle here. Let's make sure we get this one at an angle. So we're going to dimension between this construction line and this line. We're going to do this angle at, let's say, 40 degrees. Oops, click on it again. There we go, 40 degrees. There. All right, now that I've set that angle, we are going to do a parallel constraint. Make sure I get that right. It's not lighting up, but yep, it doesn't light up on mine, but that's okay. If you look at my cursor, there's 2 little parallel lines, so we're good. So I click on this one, and I click on this one, and now they're parallel to each other. This video is also showing you how to use the tangent constraint. So I want to make this line touch that circle, lie up against it. That's called tangent. So I'm going to click that. In fact, the symbol looks like a line touching a circle. So I click on that, and you'll see where my pointer thing is there, that I have the symbol there, even though this isn't lit up on mine. So I click on that line, and then I click on the circle, and they stick together. And then I do the same thing between this line and the circle, and they stick together. All right. So next thing I want to do is, let's do this. Let's make these, the ends of the two lines here, let's put a horizontal constraint on those. Let's make them line up horizontally. So that would be this one, if you remember from an earlier video. And we're going to click on the end point of this one and the end point of this one. And now they're lined up horizontally. Right? They're on the same line. All right. Let's do the following. Let's see. Let's do another construction line here, because I want these ends to kind of line up, but in a different way. So I'm going to do a construction line, put a line, and make it construction. At the end of this one, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So I'm going to make a construction line here. I'm going to make it start at the end of this one, go off this way, somewhere. I'm not worried how far, and just stop. Boom. And then hit escape to get out of that. And get out of construction. I always forget to do that, out of construction. Let's make this line that we just made perpendicular to this. So I hit the perpendicular constraint right next to parallel. This means we're going to make this and this a 90-degree angle. So now they're officially a 90-degree angle and can't move from that angle. All right. And now we're going to do, actually this will be something new. Let's do the extend feature. So trim cuts things off. Extend, well, makes things longer. So if I hit the extend and I click here, or I hover over this, you see how it shows up that black line there, says it's going to, when I click, it's going to make this line longer and go all the way to the next feature, which is that construction line. There we go. Now it doesn't matter, but if you would like to trim off the excess here on the construction line, feel free. It won't make a difference. It's a construction line anyway, so. All right. Let's see. Let's set some distances here, shall we? Let's do. You know what? We'll do that one distance later. Now we're good. We'll just leave it like this for now. Okay. So we are now going to do some arcs and use tangent along with those arcs. So let's look at this bottom section here. What I want you to do is, when you go to do this assignment, we're going to make 3 arcs. So I'm going to click on 3-point arc, and we're going to make 3 arcs. One of them is going to be, notice how the spot turns green here when I get there. Start there, make sure it's green, click. One of them is just going to be out. I don't really matter. Doesn't matter where. Just put it out here somewhere. And I don't care how curved it is. We're just going to, boom, make 3 arcs. There's one of them. Let's do one off of this end. That one we're going to bend more like this, a little bit, inwards. Once again, I don't care what it looks like at all. And then we're going to do another arc between the ends of these 2 arcs. So we're going to go one here and one there at the ends. Make sure I get this right. Yep. And make it out here somewhere. Now that looks like a mess. So what we want to do is have, let me hit escape to get out of arc, is we want to have this flow smoothly around here. We don't want all these points and stuff. So this is where another feature or another time that tangent is helpful. So for example, if I click on tangent, I think I clicked on it, yep, because that symbol comes up. I can, if I want these two to flow together smoothly, not have this point, if I click on tangent like I have, and I click on one of them, and then the other, it'll adjust the arc so that they flow together at that point. And then we can do the same between this arc and this one. And then we can do it between the line and this arc. Ooh, I didn't anticipate that. And let me undo that for a second. It's not what I anticipated. Let's try this one. Between, make sure I'm in tangent, yep. Let's try this line and this one first. There we go. I like that a little better. Well, let's see what it does when I do this now. Here. There we go. I like that better. Okay. Yeah, I wanted it to come out this way, not be tangent, but run all the way around. So if you don't like the way something looks when you're doing it, just undo it and try something else. All right. So now I've made this like knob thing here. And I can change the size of, like if I'm making just like a stick with like a handle on it or something, I can change the size of this by changing the diameters there. So we'll come back to that though, and we'll dimension it. At this end, we're gonna make an arc that's tangent, but we're gonna do it automatically. And we've done this before, I think. If I click here, and I click here, and I move, as I move my arc, at some point the tangent symbols will show up. There they are. So when that happens, I click. And now that arc is tangent to those lines. It comes around and runs smoothly right into it. All right, I think we have some dimensioning to do, and after that, I think we'll be all right. So let's dimension these three arcs that we made. There's this one, and this one. We're going to dimension those. So we're going to go here, and we're going to click on one of the arcs. And in this case, I want to see if I can make this a little bigger. So I'm going to go like 1.8 inches maybe. Oh, click again. There we go. 1.8. Right, and then we're going to we'll do this arc at, let's make this one. Well, let's make it 2 inches. Let's see what happens. Oh, didn't like it. All right, well. Let's make it 1.5, see if it likes that. There we go. And then we'll do this one at 0.7, we'll say. Something close to what it already is. There we go. So that looks a little better to me. All right, and we'll dimension this arc here. Actually, we can't dimension this arc because it's already tangent. So the size of the arc isn't something we can dimension at this point. So we have some green things here, and here is why. I think we need to dimension some distances here between things. So I'm going to say I want the distance between, let's say, this point at the end of this line and this construction line. Let's make that 2.5 inches. There we go. And let's make the distance between this point, so we dimension again, between this point, the center of that arc, and our line. Let's make that 4.5. Whoops, keep on forgetting to do that. 4.5. There we go. Now we've completely constrained our sketch. It's all purple and we're ready to go. So you're going to do something very, very, very similar to this, except this will be oriented differently. And the dimensions will be something I'll give you instead of just kind of making up as we go. All right, good luck.